All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. And tonight we're going to be engraving glass with the trusty S1. And guys, this is a requested video. A couple people messaged me asking me about it. I've done videos with glass, such as wine glasses or these little glasses, like I said, and I got my fingers in there because I've already went ahead and got the spray on it ready to go. So we're going to be using marking spray. Doing this with a diode laser, more particularly the S1 and the RA2 Pro. So if you're getting ready for Christmas and want to come up with some good $1.25 blanks, go to Dollar Tree, grab you some of those, tune in, and I'll show you how to engrave them and drastically increase the value of this little Dollar Tree glass. So hang around and we're going to get over here and get started. All right, guys, so for tonight's video, I'm going to be using Cermark, and the reason I use Cermark is not because it's expensive, which it is, but it's because I have found that I get better, more consistent results from, engrave to engrave to engrave than I do with other means. Plus, the cleanup is much easier because this stuff washes off with nothing but just water. You don't even have to have soap. You can literally wash it off in the sink without soap, but, you probably do want to use soap before you drink out of these cups, but to get it off and look at the engrave, you don't even have to have soap. So the cleanup and the application both are really, really simple, and it does a good job. That's why I use it. Yeah. You can use tempera paint. You can use tempera paint mixed with water sprayed from an airbrush. You can use tempera paint with a sponge brush, a paintbrush. You can blow the stuff on there however you want to put it on there. There's numerous ways that you can do this. The one thing that you have to, and there's this film. Some laser companies sell a film that you just stick it to the material and peel it off, and you can engrave that way. All of those mediums work, but this is the one that I chose. So I appreciate the suggestions and everything that everybody gives me, but just know I'm aware of the other techniques. I've tried most of them, and this is the one that I choose. And yes, it's expensive, but I make up for it by properly pricing the jobs that I do, even though I waste it testing for you guys. But that's what we're going to be using tonight. Now, I will tell you, there is a secret to using the Cermark, and we'll go over that real quick for you guys in case you want to use Cermark. There's a lot of different sprays. Cermark, Brilliance, a couple of the laser manufacturers make their own. I think xTool may have even got in the game of making their own. But at the end of the day, the stuff basically has the same ingredients in it, and it works very similar to the same exact process. Some of it's probably the same stuff with a different label on it. So the secret, as I know it, and there again, not a professional, just telling you how I do things, is to get a good even coat. You don't want any runs. You don't want any real thick parts or any real thin parts. If you can see through it, it's too thin. If it has there's a couple of places on here, like near the edge where you can kind of see through there, that's too thin. That is what I like right there. And that's my testing surface. So the secret is usually 2 coats is plenty. Any more than that and you're just wasting it. 2 coats is plenty, but you just want to make sure that you've got it completely to where it's completely covered the glass and there's enough of the material on the surface of the glass to interact with the laser for just that tiny little nanosecond, just long enough to build up enough heat to cause marking on the glass. That's what you're doing. That is literally all you're doing, is putting something on the glass so that that blue laser, which will pass through glass without anything there, you just simply want something for that blue laser to collide with, and when it collides with this paint, it generates heat. Heat etches the glass, mission accomplished. So no matter what you use, you can literally use a Sharpie and have some, well, I don't know about this good of results, but you can have results with a Sharpie. There's all kinds of ways. So for this video, Cermark, Dollar Tree glass, xTool S1, and the RA2 Pro. That's what we're going to be using. So there's 1,000 ways to do this. And I've done a lot of them, but we're going to do this one. So I'm going to move over to the machine and we're going to go over basically how I've got my machine set up, and I'm going to show you how to chuck these in and how to go forward from here using the xTool S1. Most of the technique works the same with the other machines. If you have a different machine and you're like, well, I don't have an S1, I got this machine. Most of it is the same as far as the interaction with the materials and all that. It's just some of the setup may vary based on your machine, the type chuck you're using, and blah, 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 blah. But you get the idea. All right, guys, so we're going to bring the little camera along, and I'm going to show you the setup that I have in my S1 before anybody asks, because I get this a lot. As you'll notice right there, I have these little corner brackets, just little pieces of wood that hold my machine still. You can use about whatever you want. I do have some little cutout files that I've made that are basically just L shapes that screw in the corners. But this is to prevent the machine from moving. I have it sitting on this oak panel that I made a long time ago and was going to use for something and never did. So it perfectly fit my S1. So I've got it kind of stationary on it. The S1 cannot move without this panel moving with it. And then I have this little piece of wood here that has the recess cut out for my RA2. RA2 sits in there, and that keeps it from moving. Makes sure that my tumblers or glasses or whatever are consistently in the same spot every time I do one, and there's no guesswork. So, and I've got it up here near the front so that when I'm changing out tumblers, even the big 40 ounces, I've got plenty of room to work. I can move this head back out of the way if I want, and I got all this extra room. It's not under here, or it's not too close to the edge. It's just right for me. So there's my setup before anybody asks, because I always get that question. And if you're new to the S1, don't overlook the plug, because I did the first time. It's right there. That's the plug for the RA2, and you're going to need the little USB looking connector to connect there. So, all right, let's get this thing set up. All right, first off, when you're handling these things after you have sprayed them, be careful not to touch the Cermark if you use it, because it does come off really easy, and you can mess up your engrave because there won't be any Cermark in that one little area there. So I've got that set up. One thing I will tell you is when you're setting your focus, because you have to use a little pin on the S1, I would recommend rotate this around to the other side, the glass side where you're not engraving, and set your focus there to avoid scratching it. So let's get over to XCS, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to set this up. So, all right, guys, while we're getting everything connected, I do want to remind you I will be putting some affiliate links down below in the description. So, and those will be for the xTool stuff. I am running the xTool S1 today, and you'll be able to see here in a second that I also have the new air filtration system from xTool on there. It's the automatic air assist, which is pretty neat. So let me go over there and hit the pair. What I've got to do is I've got to hold the power button for like 5 seconds, and it'll put it in pairing mode. And then now you can see it on XCS. I'm going to hit connect, and that is going to connect the Safety Pro to the machine. And while we're in here, we'll go ahead and show you that you can see it is connected now. I've got it set to auto, which is cool because it cuts on and off with the machine. When the machine quits engraving, it waits 10 seconds and cuts off. You can see I've been using mine quite a bit. I have cleaned the pre-filter, but for some reason it's still showing us at 92%, even though I took it out and cleaned it. So I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a reset button for that value later, or maybe I didn't clean it well enough. Who knows? But anyway, we've got that connected now, so no risk of fumes. But the first thing that I want to do is set my machine to rotary, but with chuck. This is going to be this guy right here. You got the traditional rollers, then you got the chuck. They've added the new curved material and conveyor and screen preparation. So we're going to be clicking the chuck. Get the machine to acknowledge that. We will need to get the diameter of the glasses, which we'll pick that up while we're over there. And let me go set the machine to where it needs to be, and I'll take my calipers with me and grab the measurements right quick too. All right, we're gonna go with 94.5. They do have a bit of a taper to them. Hopefully that won't be a big issue. I don't think it's that big of a contour. So we're gonna put that in there. I do have the module sitting over the top of the tumbler now. So we have that done. And you'll notice that my work area has changed. And that's because we're in rotary. So now our axis, depending on the size of this, our axis is a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the auto measure button and get it to measure on that tumbler. But there's a trick that I like to use when I'm doing glass, is I like to pull the machine out of focus a little bit. With XCS, and I'm not going to say you can't do it, it's harder to set a negative on the Z to cause the Z to come up instead of going down. Maybe there is a way, but my easy way is to lay a piece of 3mm material over the top of my material that's in the machine and hit the auto measure button. So that's what I do. So let me go put my little piece of material in the way. All right, it's basically a wooden ruler. I'll show it to you in just a second. But I'm going to hit my auto measure. This is going to run the machine over to the top of the tumbler, and it's going to touch down and get me the measurement of where the zero needs to be set. And like I said, I'm raising it up a little bit using my little ruler trick to pull the machine out of focus. With tumblers, I find that it's easier to get the lines out of tumblers with the focus up 3mm, and with glass, you're less likely to crack it because you can break glass with a laser. All right, so because I haven't done a whole lot of tumblers, we're going to do a little quick speed and power test just to make sure. Or I haven't done a whole lot of glass with this machine. So we're going to put a circle in there. We're going to set that to engrave. I'm pretty sure I hadn't put anything in here for, wait a minute. Where's my tumbler? Where's my dark color tumbler setting? Because typically, I will tell you that typically glass and the darker colored tumblers are similar as far as the power it takes to mark the glass is about the same as it takes to take off the clear coat off of stainless. Not exact, so, but it's a lot of times it's very close. So that's what we're going to do. I'm gonna start. That's going to be my jump off point. I'm going to start with that because there's a very good chance that that is going to be the correct setting. All right, so now we're going to select that, and I'm going to go over here to the apps if they haven't moved that on me. Material test array. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out. I think this 350, maybe that works. Maybe that works. So we're going to set the power to minimum. We'll set that. I'm afraid it's going to have to go a little hotter, so I'm going to go 50 to 100. And we'll set the max speed to 300, which is what this is ran. And we'll set that to 200. I don't want to go too slow. And so there we go. So we got that set up. And because I know that my tumbler is oriented to where the top is this way, I want to rotate this like so. And we're going to put the middle of this test grid right where the laser is pointing now. So there we go. I'm going to hit the process button, and we're going to go over to the machine once I hit start here and hit the button on the front of it and get this job going. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this chuck around the rotary, and I'm going to make sure that I've got enough room in my Cermark for this test engrave. As you can see, I've got the machine set up to where it should engrave it there in this area, right in the center. So hopefully we'll get good settings from this and we can move forward. So I'm going to try to set this little guy right there. So hopefully you can see some of the work as we go. And I'm going to close the lid and get this job going. All right, guys, so we got through with the couple of test cups that I did. I'm getting some really nice darker engraves, but I'm not getting the frosted look. So far, it appears that the 300 millimeters a second and the 50% power is doing a really good job of marking it with the Cermark. So that actually may be where I end up landing. This is the smaller one I did. This is the second test grid that I did. I ran this one from 300 up to 500. You'll see there are some, and I probably should have done a better job of cleaning the glass. That's one thing that don't do what I did. Make sure you take some rubbing alcohol or some pure alcohol or something and clean any oils off of the glass before you engrave, because people handling them in the store and stuff like that can prevent the Cermark from sticking, and it'll chip off. And you'll see some of that because I didn't properly clean the glass before I engraved them. But you won't make that mistake because I reminded you. So there you go. But yeah, you can see some of the Cermark is chipping off. Some may be due to oils and stuff on the glass. Some's going to be due to just imperfections in the glass. It's going to happen occasionally. And others is just the heat didn't get good enough for it to bond, possibly. Maybe even having something to do with that little bit of curvature that we have on the glass. Those are all variables that it could be. Now, with this other one, I've actually already resprayed it because what I want to do is do another test on the side of it, and I'm gonna really lay off the heat and see if it makes a difference. But we'll look at the first test that I did. This is the very first test that I did, and you'll see down in there I've got some real problems with adhesion between the Cermark and the glass. But that's going to happen. And like I said, there again, I did not clean these properly. All in all, the 300 millimeters a second and the 50% power did do a good job on both tests. So as far as getting me a nice look that doesn't appear to be chipping or coming off or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run another test, but I'm going to back the power way down and try to get some settings for the frosted. So that's the first two tests that we've done. So let's try it again. I've only got 2 cups that I can test on, and then I got to do these others with the results. So let's see if we can get some frosted looks. I did find that I think probably 50% is probably going to be where I need to land on my speeds and power, because I think I'm going a little too hot with the other. So we're going to run this one from like 25 to 50%, and I'm going to run it from 300 speed minimum, and we'll set this up to 500 and see what that does, because I believe that we were a little too hot on that last one. It done okay. It's not a bad engrave, but I believe we can cool it down a little bit. I'm going to shrink it too, because that one was awfully big. So we'll run this one, get a little bit different results, and then we'll just go over all the results at the same time, and then we're going to get to doing the actual projects, because I actually have 2 projects that I've got to do that are actually jobs. So let's run this and see what this setting looks like, and we'll decide after that. All right, guys, so the testing is done, and I'm just going to stick with 300 millimeters per second at 50% power. every test I've done, that particular setting did a really good job. With Cermark, it's doing the gray engrave, so maybe it's just this glass, but we're going to rock with that. It gives it a good look, and it's actually something that you can't get a lot of times. So we're going to go with it and use that look as our target. So now what I'm going to do is import image, go to my downloads, and download that. So there we have it, and that's the image. So what I do want to do is rotate that guy 90 degrees so that it matches up with the tumbler that, or the cup that we got in there. So the settings that we're going to be running, because we did the test earlier, so we're going to run the power at 50 and the speed 300. So I'm going to mark this as glass, Cermark, dark. And that should save my settings. So now if I go to a different one, like my baseball glove settings, that's not for this machine, by the way. I can go back to Cermark tumbler dark, which is really close to the setting for coated tumblers. But just like a while ago, I won't be looking for that. I'll be looking for glass. So it's okay. It's the same settings, but at least now, if I go in here searching for glass, I've got it figured out where it's at and got it saved in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and I'll check back with you shortly. All right, guys, so using those settings, everything turned out really nice. It adhered just enough. It's got the gray tint to it. There's a couple of places where it's not quite as dark as others, like around here on the side where the Santa is, but it's not that big of a mismatch, and I think that's partially because when I set the file up, I was doing those small grids, and I got over here in an area that was really thin with the Cermark. Remember earlier when I told you to make sure you couldn't see through it? Well, there was this little edge right here, was right there in that overspray area, so that's what caused that. But all in all, if you look throughout the engrave, it's got a solid, like nice, consistent burn to it, and that was running, once again, I'll let you know, 50% power on the 40 watt at 300 millimeters per second. Now, can you do this with the 20 watt? Absolutely. You're going to have to run your power settings a little different, but you can do it if you have the 20 watt S1. So any blue diode laser that I have tested, you can do this with the Cermark. The process, the settings are going to be a little different depending on, you know, how your machine operates, but you can get acceptable results. I have two more over here that I've got prepped up that I've got to engrave some names on. I'm going to do those while we're editing the video and getting it ready to go out the door. But those are the settings I'm going to be using, guys. And like I said, these are $1.25 each at the Dollar Tree. And it's an economical little gift idea. And like I said, you can put whatever you want. This is not just kind of did a Christmas theme, just because, you know, it is kind of Christmas right now, or getting there. So yeah, it cost me $2.50 worth of blanks to make this video. So if you're still watching, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, let me know what you think about the content. If you have any other ideas for content with the machine, let me know. I do have an hour module supposed to be coming for my S1, and I'm going to do a little bit of testing with some different materials with it. But like I said, for tumblers and cylindrical things using RA2 Pro with the setup the way that mine is, I've had really good luck, consistent results. Like I said, you can see that this, it's square with the tumbler. I don't have to worry about it shifting or anything like that. I was a little concerned in the beginning that it was going to grip these cups with the little rubber feet on the RA2 Pro, but it did a good job. I didn't have any of them move. So if you were concerned about that, as I was, then just make sure you get it good and tight, and you should be good. But anyway, guys, until next time, be safe and have a good day.